coming at you guys with a brand new deck profile. Today we're going to be exploring what Nekroz is looking like on the latest limited and forbidden list. So you guys will well know that with the added boost from Impcantations, as well as Nekroz of Brionac going to 3 and Shurit, strategist of the Nekroz, coming back to 1, Nekroz has had a huge boost into this format. And coupling that together with the Incantation engine and the addition of Mega Zaborg, the deck gets bananas. So it's my intention today to bring you guys a deck profile. I'm missing a couple of the cards, so they're going to be superimposed in After Effects. But I figured I would bring you guys the list that I've been playing so far, and we'd have a little explore of that, shall we? So we're going to start off with the actual ritual monsters of the deck. I'm going to start off with 2 copies of Nekroz of Trishula. So Nekroz of Trishula is really cool because he brings to the deck a ridiculous amount of non-targeting removal, exactly the same as Trishula itself. And he's also a crazy amount of protection for when you set up your Unicore. Of course, the deck still only has 1 Nekroz of Unicore, and that is probably the biggest frailty of the deck. A lot of your going first hands are really going to set up a hand that can protect the unicorn from as many things as possible. Trishula is your protection from targeting. You want to play 2 because in my opinion you want to have the 1 that you can use to protect, and then a second one that you can search to make your actual blowout play with if you have to then take the 3rd turn. It's also a situation wherein you'd love to play 1 and just like discard it and then special summon it using a Shurit later on, but we can't always find ourselves in a perfect world, so 2 of these is perfect for me. Then 3 copies of the, I think this is honestly my favorite card in the deck, 3 copies of Nekroz of Valkyrus. Valkyrus is really sweet because of the fact that he's the battle blocker of the deck, which there aren't that many of in the game anymore, so it's really strong because this deck it doesn't really build a board so well, but it can really clean through a board quite well with the powers of Nekroz of Trishula and Nekroz of Brionac. So the 3 Valkyrus are really strong for giving you that battle protection, because almost all decks in the game are winning by battle now, except for the Stein FTK. And then there's the added fact that this guy, in certain play situations in your hand, which we'll probably hopefully do a test hand video on as well, this guy's able to deep draw you through the deck to get you closer to other required combo pieces and much closer to that all-important Mega Zaborg, which we don't really have a consistent way to search. We're then playing 1 copy of Nekroz of Gungnir. I actually don't have a Gungnir for the deck, so the card that's been superimposed over is a Decisive Armor, but the Gungnir is in there again as an additional removal piece. It's a level fixing piece, and it's also in there as destruction protection. Then moving through the lineup, we play 3 copies of Nekroz of Brionac, newly back to 3. Nekroz of Brionac being at 3 just cracks the deck wide open in its ability to do 2 things. The first part is the easily obvious part. It makes the deck much more consistent in searching its monsters. You're much more likely to draw this rather than having to find it off of off of Preparation of Rites. Bearing in mind Preparation of Rites is also a card that is now at 3. So Nekroz of Brionac is really strong for that. What it also does for you is, in combination with cards like Nekroz of Unicore and Nekroz of Clausolas, you can special summon it to a board and it can return 2 face-up extra deck monsters back to the extra deck. That's crazy. The fact that you can go in against, say, the Thunder Dragon Guard Dragon deck, if they don't negate your Kaleidoscope, if you have Brionac Unicorn in hand, which, don't get me wrong, I get it, it's a fairly scarce hand, if they don't negate your Kaleidoscope, you're playing Brionac and a Unicorn to the board. A Unicorn negates the board, and then the Brionac bounces 2 cards. That's already an obscenely strong start, if you have to go second into a board like that. We then play 1 copy of Nekroz of Unicore. I wish we had more than 1 Unicore, but it is what it is. This is the card that you almost want to set up if you're going first, and then protection for it. You're almost always not going to be killable by battle, so if you can set up a situation in which your opponent's extra deck monsters really can't do too much for them, and then as an added as added gravy, if you can protect this from targeted effects with cards like Trishula or Destruction with Gungnir, Unicore really kind of cracks the game wide open for you to then push your opponents what will eventually be a subpar board and blow them out with cards like Trishula and Brionac going into the 2nd turn. So that's where this comes in. We then play the 2 copies of Nekroz of Clausolas. Of course, very, very important for searching your ritual spells, but also its ability to negate the effects of a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck until the end of the turn, and the attack becomes 0. That's really kind of overlooked. I know I definitely overlooked it a lot in Nekroz format. I just thought it was, oh great, the level tessellates with Jin and you search the ritual spell with it, but no. It's really quite strong in that regard as well. So Clausolas, really, really good. Again, for kind of board negation, both going first and second. There's so much focus on the extra deck nowadays, especially with the dawn of link monsters. Clausolas really helps us a lot. And then the last ritual monster we play is 1 Impcantation Chalislime to help us get to our other Impcantation cards. This guy's really cool because he can dig you deeper into the deck. Have him in hand, discard a ritual spell, special summon a Chalislime, special summon an Incantation, pick up like a ritual spell that you weren't going to use, pick up cards from the deck. It's just another cool way to work a searcher out that also produces a monster onto the board. Love him. And then later on in the turn, you can easily discard him with your Valkyrus if you're looking for a card to discard. So that's the full ritual component. We'll then move into the kind of traditional main deck lineup. So we're playing 2 ice barriers, sorry, 2 ice barriers? 2 Nekroz that are not ritual monsters, and that's 1 Shuret and 1 Dance Princess. We're playing the Dance Princess for those going second situations in which we can protect our monsters from activated effects responding to ritual spell cards and then their effects. They can't, or your monsters also can't be targeted by your opponent's card effects. Shuret, he needs no explanation. He's obviously in there for really making your ritual summons obscenely easy, because the fact that it's like the one situation where your levels don't have to match up, which is probably the most painful thing in this deck. And then for the kind of supporting cast, we play 3 copies of Manju of the 10,000 Hands. 2 Senju. I think we want to limit the normal summons a little bit, especially because we really want to be normal summoning Zaborg every time, but we play these guys to search you through your deck for your ritual targets. And then kind of as the preferential ritual support, we play 2 copies of Impcantation Talismandra, 2 copies of Impcantation Candoll, 2 copies of Impcantation Bookstone, and then 2 of Pencilplume. I really kind of, you want to draw these ones because these are, I guess, the bad ones. You want to draw these so that you can burn their effect on triggering the special summon and then special summon these ones. The levels are kind of awkward because this is 8 and this is not. And I really wish that one of these was the 5, because then you can have interesting situations with this and like the 5, and then you can make Valkyrus. But there you go, beggars can't be choosers. It's still a crazy good engine, and it's also really easy fodder for the Valkyrus tribute and also for the Zaborg summon. And speaking of the Zaborg, we play 3 copies of Zaborg, the Mega Monarch. So every deck needs a win button. This guy is the deck's win button. And I know you guys called out an American-looking Phantasma in my other video. This is an American Zaborg, so you can really kind of see the difference between the 3 there. So Zaborg is your blowout card. So basically this guy's effect boils down to if this was tribute summoned, you can target a monster on the field and destroy it, and then if it was a light monster, both players send as many cards as possible from their extra deck to the graveyard, but not more than the original level or rank of that destroyed monster. If this card was tributed by tributing a light monster, you add this additional effect. You choose the cards your opponent sends to the graveyard. So if you can find a position in which you can make this by tributing over a light monster, the game cracks wide open. But in the same vein, you can just tribute summon this guy. Your opponent is going to have to rinse their own extra deck down to the 6 most important cards in their deck, which are then usually going to be able to block with Unicore anyway, and you are going to send a whole toolbox of cards from your own extra deck, which we'll get to in a little bit. So essentially this guy ends up as, I believe, a +6 for the deck, which is obscene, just absolutely obscene. So that's the Zaborgs, and it really is the whole kind of win button of the deck. And then it has plays going first and second. So while you really do want to see it going first to really slow down your opponent's plays, it has variety. And then the other cards we play are, of course, the supporting spells in the form of the ritual spells, 2 Nekroz Cycle, 2 Nekroz Mirror, and 2 Nekroz Kaleidoscope. I don't think this lineup's ever really going to change nowadays. It gets really frustrating when you draw multiple mirrors. You kind of want to search them, I found, but it is what is. And then we're playing 3 copies of Preparation of Rites. It's great to be able to play 3 of this. I haven't been able to in so long. phenomenal card. I just wish that there was a way we could play pre-prep, but alas, it's not to be. For the extra deck, this is a 13 card extra deck. You can play, I believe, Elder Entity Nyara, I think it's called, the one which you send to the graveyard and it can destroy a card on the field. Also, there's definitely an avenue for things like a Nightmare package in here for certain outs, but I found that with the Impcantations and the way that I focus on playing them, it's very hard to really use any kind of link monster in this deck, and a lot of this is just toolbox. So we'll go through that. So we're playing one Brionac, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, as a level 6 to send for the Nekroz Brionac, because Nekroz Brionac really comes into its own in this format, in my opinion. It's incredibly strong for the fact that it can put 2 extra deck monsters back into the deck without destroying them. So really, as long as they can be targeted, it's going to solve the problem. 1 Omega, when you send cards from your extra deck to the graveyard, you want to have the ability to put one back, especially you want to put Herald back for your Kaleidoscope if you haven't already used one. 1 Trishula, this is to make it possible to summon both, what their names now, Brionac and Clausolas using Kaleidoscope. This is for Brionac and for Unicorn, and then this is for Unicorn and Valk. So that's your toolbox for the Kaleidoscope. Then, of course, the most powerful card to send off of Kaleidoscope is the 3 copies of Herald of the Arclight. Of course, Herald of the Arclight, any monster sent from the hand or main deck to the graveyard is banished, but that doesn't really matter. When you send this to the graveyard, you can add a ritual monster or a ritual spell card from your deck to your hand, which is just bonkers. So that's your +3. You send 3 of these, and then you put one back with Omega, because they're not once per turn. And then the other +3 engine is the 3 copies of Totally Awesome. So if you find a way to put a fair amount of your water monsters to the graveyard, so say like you've used Brionac, Clausolas, and you've searched, and normally I make a play where I will try and get Valk on the board to draw into my Zaborg. I've usually sent a Valk to the grave, so I don't have to burn one of my Herald of the Arclight searches. If I'm going first on a Valk, I can just add the Valk straight back to my hand using Totally Awesome. So that's another way you play it. And then for the 2 toolbox Exceeders, I play the 1 Abyss Dweller and the 1 Exiton Knight, because come on, it's rude not to play this guy now he's back. But yeah, that's the 13 card extra deck. Then there's the kind of variety. You can change this up a little bit. You can play certain kind of cards that were toolboxed. So like you can not play this, and you can not play this, and you can fit in like 3 Nyara and a Phoenix. But it's really up to you on how you want to play it. But yeah, guys, that brings me to, of course, about the end of the video. I hope you've all enjoyed. I'm definitely going to enjoy playing a wee bit of this deck going into my Dusseldorf testing. I don't know how strong it's going to be, but it's definitely something that's worth having a bit of a fool around with. But yeah, guys, let me know any feedback you have on the list in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this, leave me a like so you can let me know that I can keep creating more deck profiles. Leave this a subscribe if you haven't already, because I'd love for you to stick around. And like I said, give me feedback below. Share this with your friends if you think they'd be interested. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you guys next time with some more Yu-Gi-Oh! Related content. Peace out. Bye-bye.